Music was always something I did when I was really young. So it was always something that I felt really natural doing. Piano at 5. I started piano at 5. Classical music in New York City. And I studied with Natasha Ivanina, who's a very famous Russian classical pianist. And I studied with her all the way until I graduated high school. So I was learning Chopin and Beethoven and Mozart. And also during that time I started playing guitar when I was about 10 and had private instruction from 10 until about the end of high school. And then from there I went to NYU, which I studied composition and theory, which was classically based. So I was in the Steinhardt School. I studied with Young Miha, Dr. Young Miha, and the late Dean Ugetsu. But it was like kind of new contemporary classical, which was the focus. And through that I discovered electronic music. So through that we had a room there. This lab was like the electronic music lab, and it just had all these old synthesizers, like 1960s Buklas and Moogs and all these iconic like old crazy synthesizers with knobs. We learned how to like cut tape and record on like just this 4-track tape. And so it gave me an appreciation of the whole recording process. You know, at that time I was already like messing around with computers, but then when you realize what it was like in the 50s, 60s, 70s with tape and editing tape, even into the 80s when there was still like digital tape and stuff was being used, it kind of gave you a new understanding, a new appreciation of how the whole process works on like a bigger conceptual level. Like you taking that and then like mixing it with rock music and trying to make this kind of progressive new sound. I ended up working for Apple for a few years after that, which I also kind of consider part of my education more than it was like really a job to me. I learned how to like take apart Macs and like put them back together, and I got certified in software and Logic Pro, it's a recording platform. So I learned a lot about that. I just got really into the whole ins and outs of how a computer works, and that really kind of helped me with the whole recording process, since if you think about it, when you're recording music, your tool is a computer, and if you don't know how it works properly, or you don't really understand bits and bytes and how software is interacting with the hardware and all that stuff, you're not, it's like a race car driver who doesn't know how the transmission in his car works, right? You kind of want to know all that stuff. And I got into Purchase, which was a studio composition program. So it was a lot of like production and also songwriting. So it was kind of like how at NYU I had my classical, like modern, contemporary, avant-garde education. Purchase was more of the opposite of that, which was kind of like, here's how you make a record sound good. Here's how you write a song that'll people will want to buy, or that will be popular. Here's like the aesthetics of pop and modern music. And then we also learned a lot about the business side. I had a lot of professors there who were legit, who have been doing it and still do it. Like Peter Denenberg produced the Spin Doctors, and he worked on all the soundtracks. He did the Bruce Springsteen song for the Philadelphia movie as an engineer and producer. So my private teacher, Darren Solomon, was also very helpful with all that stuff. He's a commercial writer, licenses music, so he kind of introduced me to the whole like licensing music idea and that business. I got a master's in music. A lot of people ask me like, what does that mean? It's like they think like art is like this, or music is this like esoteric thing, and in reality there's like this whole science to it, and this whole process, and this whole different philosophies on how to approach it and theory behind it. And grad school is just expanding on that. We make music not to just be on a record in someone's shelf somewhere. We make music so people can experience it and listen to it and learn something from it.